The stranger under the mango tree. It started with a strange man strolling into my backyard, clipboard in hand, flip-flops on his feet, walking like he owned the place. I thought he was just a delivery guy, or maybe someone checking utility lines, but then he looked up, serious as a judge, and asked, "Do you have a pool pass?" I burst out laughing, not the polite kind, but the kind that snorts lemonade through your nose. I looked him over. "Buddy, this is my pool, my house, my land. The only pass you need is a trespasser's permit, and you're already holding one." He didn't move. Instead, he cleared his throat, straightened his posture, and said, "I'm Craig, a volunteer pool monitor. Due to recent HOA updates, your pool is now considered shared property." I blinked. Shared property? You mean I built this pool with my money and now you're telling me I have to share it? Craig nodded with a robotic smile. "Yes, ma'am. The community has decided it's accessible from the street, and the new policy requires HOA members to have supervised access during approved hours." I stared at him, feeling my patience shrink. The only thing I saw from the street was a corner of a diving board and a flamingo-shaped float. I was about to ask if he was joking, but then I remembered Karen, our self-appointed HOA queen. That's when I realized this wasn't a joke. It was Karen's latest stunt. Confronting Karen. I marched straight to her house, clipboard still in hand. The door swung open before I could even knock. Karen was already on her porch, holding a stack of printouts like they were trophies. She looked me over, eyes sharp and smug. "Oh, good. You got the memo," she said, voice sweet but dangerous. "I didn't get any memo," I snapped. "I got Craig and a fairy tale." She flipped through her papers, smirking. "The board voted last week. You were absent." She handed me a formal notice claiming my property was now part of some observational jurisdiction because my pool was visibly accessible from the street. I stared at her, puzzled. "You mean the corner of my pool?" I asked. "That's your idea of visual accessibility?" Karen just nodded. "Yes, and the neighborhood's recreational integration policy. You're required to allow supervised access during certain hours." I shook my head. "Karen, this is my house. I built this pool. I pay for everything. And I don't recall voting on any of this." She smiled, that tight, perfect Karen smile, the one that never reaches her eyes. "You might not have been present, but your property falls under HOA observation by adjacency. It's in the new rules." I felt a slow burn ignite inside me. This was nonsense, but her tone made it feel like a declaration of war. The lockdown begins. That afternoon, I found my pool gate padlocked. Not my lock, a shiny commercial-grade lock with a new sign. HOA pool access only. Membership required. My knees went weak. Someone had gone in, replaced my sign, and locked me out of my own backyard. I dropped my coffee mug. It shattered on the concrete. Before I could react, Karen appeared on the other side, phone in hand, recording everything. "You're vandalizing HOA property," she yelled, voice high and triumphant. "This will be reported." I clenched my fists. "I'll see you in court," I managed to say. Karen smirked. "Good luck fighting the community's will." I grabbed my bolt cutters, stormed over, and started to cut the lock. Just then her voice rang out again. "Stop. That's illegal." She was filming me, of course. I ignored her, yanked the lock free, and threw it into her hydrangeas. Then, I locked the gate from the inside, added my own chain, and hung a sign. "Private property, no trespassing." That night I called the police. They came, looked over the scene, and looked at Karen's suspicious fake documents. Her claims about shared community space crumbled as the officer's eyes narrowed. "This was a civil matter," he said, but he warned me to keep records. The next day I discovered someone had measured my yard. Her structures and fences spilled into my property by at least 2 feet. The legal wheels started turning. Karen's house was now a liability, not an authority. Her fake documents, her overreach, everything was about to blow up in her face. The green monster. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I knew her obsession with control ran deep. Her latest stunt? hosting a community water yoga class in my backyard, with her standing at the edge, blowing her whistle like a drill sergeant. She declared, "Welcome to HOA Swim Stars," as kids splashed and parents lounged, acting like they belonged. I watched from the window, heart pounding. Then I saw it, her smiling, giving instructions. I pressed a button. The pool's filtration system kicked in, and within minutes the water shimmered, then turned a vivid, glowing green. It started as a faint hue, then rapidly grew into a neon sludge. Kids screamed, parents panicked, and the chaos erupted like a scene from a cartoon. The green goo clung to clothes, floaties, and even the margaritas on the tables. Karen shrieked, trying to pretend it was part of the fun, but her face was pale. I watched her stumble, covered in slime, as her class turned into a green nightmare. I had set a trap, and it had snapped shut. As she banged on the gate, demanding I open it, I calmly locked it, secured it with a heavy padlock, and watched her turn red with fury. The final blow. The internet exploded with videos of her slipping and sliding in the goo, memes calling her Queen of the Green, and jokes about her being slimed by her own ego. The slime had done its job, not just as a prank, but as a statement. Karen's reputation was unraveling faster than her carefully scripted HOA rules. Meanwhile, I installed cameras, documented her midnight sneaking around, and kept a detailed record of her illegal activities. When the authorities finally stepped in, they found her forging documents, trespassing, and even vandalizing my property. She was hit with fines, charges, and a court order to pay restitution. Her house was listed for sale, but the damage was done. No one wanted to buy a house tainted by slime, lies, and legal mess. As the new owners moved in, I carved a small sign at the gate. Private pool. No trespassing, no exceptions. It was a simple message, but one that said everything. And so peace returned. The neighborhood breathed again. The green lights were replaced with calm, blue glow. The chaos was over, and I knew deep down, sometimes, silence and a little clever mischief are the best kind of justice. I stormed, back over, bolt cutters in my hand, ready to free my gate from the false lock that kept me out of my own yard. Just as I squeezed the blades shut around the shiny metal, Karen appeared on the other side, phone in hand, already recording everything. Her face was lit with a triumphant grin, eyes sharp and gleaming. "You can't do that," she yelled, voice high-pitched with false innocence. "That's vandalism. You're destroying HOA property." I didn't bother to answer. My heart was pounding as I yanked the lock free, letting it drop into her hydrangeas with a loud clink. I pushed the gate open, past her, and from inside, I sealed it shut with my own chain and a new heavy-duty lock. I hung a sign. Private property. No trespassing. In that moment, I knew I had won. But Karen wasn't done. As I turned to walk back inside, I heard her shriek loud enough to echo across the street. "You'll pay for this. You'll regret crossing me." I kept walking, calm as ever, and called the police. When they arrived, they looked over the scene. Then they looked at her suspicious fake documents. Their expressions changed. The officer's eyes narrowed. Her claims about shared space crumbled under the weight of her own lies. But the real shock came next. They measured my yard, her fences and structures, even her makeshift tiki bar, spilled into my property by at least 2 feet. It was enough to prove her encroachment. Enough to turn the tables. Suddenly it was clear, her power was slipping away. Her documents, her authority, they were all fake. And I had the evidence. I watched her on her porch, trembling with rage, as her house was no longer the fortress she believed it to be. This wasn't just about a pool or a fence anymore. It was about her losing control piece by piece, and I was the one holding the pieces now. I watched Karen stumble backward, her face drained of color as I locked the gate from inside, sealing her out for good. Her screams echoed in the yard, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I calmly turned away, knowing I had finally taken back what was mine, and she had nothing left to fight with. That's when I heard the distant screech of tires and the sharp clang of metal hitting the pavement. I looked up just in time to see her house's front door fling open. A squad of officers stormed in, flashing badges, their eyes locked on her. Her furious protest turned to desperate silence as they began inspecting her forgeries, her illegal activities, her lies. The truth hit me like a lightning bolt. She'd forged documents, trespassed, vandalized, and pushed every boundary she could find. And now, the law was catching her, faster than she could spin her web of deception. Suddenly, everything shifted. The officer turned to her, voice cold. "You've been forging signatures, claiming property rights that don't exist, and illegally encroaching on private land. You're under arrest." Her face twisted in shock, then fury, but it was too late. The weight of her lies crushed her. The neighbors gathered, silent witnesses to her downfall, watching her get handcuffed, her house being seized for illegal activity. As she was hauled away, her lips moved, trying to scream her innocence. But no one was listening anymore. The neighborhood had seen her true face, greedy, manipulative, a villain in disguise. And I, standing at the gate, felt a strange calm wash over me. I had outsmarted her, exposed her lies, and reclaimed my home. The green slime, the chaos, her endless schemes, all of it had led to this moment. Because sometimes, the biggest battles aren't fought with fists or fury. They're won by patience, cunning, and the courage to stand up when it counts. And that day I had done more than just win my backyard. I'd crushed her empire of deceit forever. The house sat silent as the officers left, her reputation shattered beyond repair. I looked at my pool, now clean and calm, shining under the sun. A gentle breeze stirred the water, and I knew this was finally the end of her reign. But more than that, it was the start of a new chapter, one where I owned my space, my peace, and my future. No more fear, no more games, just the quiet strength of knowing I had won the war and she'd never come back. And as I turned away, I whispered to myself, this isn't just a story about a pool or a neighbor. It's about standing tall when everything else tries to bring you down, and never ever losing sight of what's truly yours.